For those who haven't been a part of our conversations in the past, a rich lineage of political leaders in the country, and then when we look at your siblings, executives in their own right, what were you guys eating for breakfast in the Baird household?
Look, I don't think breakfast has got anything to do with it, and look, in our family, I think the true heroes are probably the lower profile people, to be honest. I mean, my mum is someone who's the rock on which the family's built. She's never wanted any limelight. She's spent pretty much her whole life looking after others and serving others. So she's obviously very inspirational. And my brother, likewise. You cannot meet more of a champion bloke than my brother. So he is an executive doing incredibly well in his own career. He's off in marketing for an airline. But yeah, I mean, I feel very blessed. I've got an incredible family and amazing parents and an amazing sister and brother, so very lucky.
With your father being so heavily involved in politics for most of your life, do you ever find yourself at your own dinner table thinking, wow, we've been here before, it was just my old man sitting here, or not?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I do remember a number of discussions, with my father and paying partial interest. I mean, I was more interested in what the test score was, or what homework I hadn't done yet. But I do remember some of them. Some of them stick out very clearly, and similar discussions, but on different issues is probably the best way to describe it. And I remember once he came to our dinner table and said, "Look, Nick Greiner has asked me to lead a bid for the Olympics. What do you think about that?" And I, just leapt out of my chair and said, "We've got to do it. That is awesome. Imagine Sydney hosting the Olympics." So being right there at the genesis of that, and then seeing my father sort of lead it. I mean, I've never seen anyone work so hard. So inspirational on a number of levels. So I don't reflect back, and probably in many respects don't have much time to reflect back and sort of, is this exactly the same as what I've seen? But similar discussions, just on different issues, I think.
One of the other key tenets in your life that you are very overt about, and that is faith. That is that intersection between vocation and belief. And when last we spoke, it was a really quick line, but you mentioned it was a wrestle where you thought for a long time that there was career and then there was faith, and that they were appropriate to be apart. And then when you brought them together, life got a little bit simpler, in fact, a great deal simpler. Could you address that for us from a leadership perspective? And while every decision can't be taken to the Bible, how does it function on a day-to-day basis in an office like yours?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously, not everyone who's listening is a Christian, but if you are a Christian, that sense of whatever you're doing in life, your faith is the most important, and having your work separate is dysfunctional. And you're right, for many years I did separate the two.
Why?
I think that the sense was, I'd go to church, I would lead a youth group and a Bible study group, and that was my ministry time, and then I'd put my tools down there and then go to work. But they come together. So an understanding that, how can I serve and reflect my faith in this environment, in my work environment, professional environment. And that took a while for me to realise that, of course you can do that, they're consistent. And in that context, I did wrestle, how would I live out my life and what did I want to do in terms of career-wise, that kind of brought this sense of vocation, which is faith and work coming together. And I initially thought it was becoming a church minister, and then I spent time at a place called Regent College up in Canada, training for that. But when I was there, I wrote a paper on what brought me to this point and how I thought I would serve God from the days forward. And, in that I said I look forward to serving as a church minister. And the man who marked the paper put in sort of ink underneath it, or in Australian politics. And, that was the point where I said, really? I'd been kind of running from that because I'd seen my father do it. And I thought, no, that's for him, that's not for me. But that moment turned it on its head, and I thought, well, actually, maybe I am passionate about trying to make a difference in my community and state, and I've seen the good side together with the bad side. So maybe, actually, that's where I bring everything together. what I've learnt, my skills, experiences, my passion for community and hopefully serving with my faith. And that intersection was cemented in that year, and obviously I followed it from then on.
You mentioned that lecturer and that scrawled life advice. Other mentors?
Well, there's been many. Obviously there are people such as my father, who naturally I'll call on and talk to across a range of fronts, and people I've respected across the political spectrum. So Peter Costello is someone that I've spent time with over the years, but there's other business leaders that I've drawn on in my career, and I think that wherever you are, there will be leaders that you will look at that will either inspire you or you'd really like to understand how they've got to the position they have. And I've always been pretty forward in trying to spend time with them and listen. So I think you can't have enough mentors in your life.
The next generation of leaders who might be running away from something that their lecturer is redirecting them to, or perhaps a church is encouraging them to look up. What advice would you have to the young Mike Baird who was struggling all those years ago about where to go and how to do it?
Well, I think the very simple line would be, in terms of going forward, you can achieve much more than you give yourself credit for. So my world horizon and my capacity and capability was significantly diluted from where I've achieved. If you asked me back then, would I end up here, I would have laughed at you. You might set a goal in terms of what you think you can achieve and what you can do, but if you push yourself, you can actually potentially do more. And not only that, you could do much, much more. And so as a life lesson to a 24-year-old, if you think you can go to X position, well, aim for triple X, because you will surprise yourself. There's no doubt about it.